Okay, we're standing in front of Cobb Hall, which for many of you will be, I hope, a place of fond memories, or at least striking memories, because you, if you were a student in the college or even in the graduate school, you doubtlessly took classes in Cobb Lecture Hall. This is the first building that was constructed at the University of Chicago. It's therefore our most historic building. It's called Cobb Hall, and it's called Cobb Hall in a way for two reasons. First of all, it was designed by a man by the name of Cobb, Henry Ives Cobb, who was the architect who planned the original campus, the original plan for our quadrangles. And a number of buildings on our university campus were designed by Cobb. And he did it as again, in this kind of collegiate Gothic style that was very common at the time. But the building was actually named not for Henry Ives Cobb, but rather Silas Cobb. Silas Cobb was an industrialist and a real estate developer and an investor in Chicago after the Civil War, who made a fortune and who lived on South Prairie Avenue. And for those of you who have been down to South Prairie Avenue, you'll know that this has been declared to be an historic district that is filled with, well, somewhat filled with the remnants of the mansions that were occupied by the social and industrial elite of Chicago after the Great Fire in the early 1870s. Cobb lived in one of those mansions, and not only did he live there, but he also, just down the block from where Cobb was living, was Philip Armour, was Marshall Field, was George Pullman. In some ways, the commercial and industrial elite, you could call it the capitalist elite, who founded the University of Chicago, who founded the Art Institute of Chicago, who founded the Field Museum of Natural History, the Shedd Aquarium, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. All of these great cultural institutions that were founded roughly between the 1880s and early 1900s were, in a way, the objects and subjects of patronage from these families who had generated enormous wealth as a result of the Industrial Revolution and Commercial Revolution that created this great city, and who then wanted to give some of that wealth back to the general public for the good of the people of Chicago and the nation. Cobb was a well-connected man, and his son-in-law, George C. Walker, was one of the donors of the university, a donor to the university who gave us the Walker Museum. His sister-in-law was Mrs. Jerome Beecher, gave us Beecher Hall. And so the families who lived on this, and they also were part of this social circle, this kind of cultural circle of families who lived on South Prairie Avenue. This is a hall that was originally meant to be a lecture hall, but it housed William Rainey Harper's offices, it housed a chapel, it housed various graduate offices. It was kind of like a one-room schoolhouse for the University of Chicago until the university could begin to build other buildings later on. It's important in another respect, and that is to say that the man who founded the university in a financial sense, John D. Rockefeller, was an extraordinarily generous man, but he was convinced that for the university to work and to succeed, it had to have the support of local Chicago people, not simply funds coming from Cleveland or New York City via his patronage. And he stipulated that although his gifts would help to found the university, they were to go for endowment to operate the university. They were not to go for buildings. Now, there were a couple of exceptions made, and I'll be talking about those later in our tour. But it was very important for Harper and the early trustees to find local donors, men and women, because a number of our buildings were given by prominent women at the time, which again was very unusual in American higher education. It was very important for Harper to be able to find local donors. And there is this story, perhaps apocryphal, of him going down to South Prairie Avenue, knocking on the door, introducing himself to Silas Cobb and asking for his support. And happily, Cobb was, well, there he could open the door. He was willing to talk to Harper, and he was willing to give him $222,000 to build this building. I don't know what it would cost to build it today, but this is what you could buy with $222,000 in 1890, and I think it was a very worthy and a very good investment. And it launched the university in a rather spectacular way at the very beginning of its history.